Welcome to Mind Your Real Estate Business, Micah. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm great, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Of course. This is I'm really happy to have you on, and I know that you moved some stuff around today. It was a little bit last minute, but as realtors, that's what we do, I suppose. And it's something that we do try in our roles as coaches, as broker managers, people that do guide other people through this process. We help them to avoid the last minute. Yet here we are. I do. I want to jump right into this. You and I we've been working on a new training program launch
Yeah.
that we're going to be delivering, and we are delivering in beta form to brand new agents and some agents that maybe need to get that sort of restart going. So I wanted to talk to you specifically because I think, like, unlike a lot of broker managers, you have really recent experience as a team leader, as somebody that was actively involved in the industry. You still do sell, although less. Um, and so I want to talk to you about, that training process and what you've seen over the years with new agents, where you think they've gone wrong, and some of the things that we're trying to address now with this new launch program.
Awesome.
So let's start with that. Where do you think a lot of brand new agents go wrong with, they just get their license, they're with a brokerage, they're in their first week on the job. What do you think holds most people back from getting success sooner?
Great question. I mean, at the end of the day, I think a lot of the training is not hands-on, practical training. It's in a training center or Zoom meetings or classes. And, you and I have talked about this, but, human beings learn really well from doing. And I think that's just a big missing with all the training programs out there, the coaching programs, all the brokerages, all their training is just the hands-on actual doing.
Interesting you say that, because I actually got an email from you about 5 minutes ago, I think, that said, hey, one of the requirements of this program is to book an open house. Have you done that yet? Because we're on Wednesday. If you don't have an open house booked by the end of the day today, where are you working?
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that this is happening. I think as expected through the platform is like, yes, this is training, but there are requirements. Have you fulfilled them? Have you done this yet?
Yeah.
I guess, and this is, as we're going through the podcast, I mean, it's part of more of a conversation that we have on an ongoing basis, is how do you undo that? How do you get somebody that's come into this to shake this idea of being a student and get into being a professional and doing the things that actually generate business?
Yeah.
What do you think
Well,
the
I
missing
think,
piece is?
pardon?
What do you think the missing piece is here?
I think a big part of the missing piece is accountability. So, look, we had a previous training program called the Jump program, 10-week program, great program, but something was missing. Agents are coming out of it. They've learned about offers, they've learned about lead pillars, they've learned all this stuff in a classroom, but they come out of it and spin their wheels for months, right? And it's because, again, there's none of that practical part of it. And then there's no accountability check-ins, right? And so, what you've built, you and Jessica, and I know as some of the other managers have helped out and other people at Hallmark, but is pretty cool because it takes that program and then it adds in that accountability. So perfect example, right, is like, we have some agents on it, some new agents, some agents that have been in the industry for a number of years and just have not been able to kind of get past that 50, 60,000 a year. And so I've had my first check-in with a bunch of them, right? And so I get a notification throughout the week, have they booked their coaching call with you? Right. And I was pleasantly surprised out of, like, I don't know how many, maybe 7 of them, I think all of them but one booked their coaching call, right? But then I go through the coaching call and it's like, okay, you've done this great. You've done that great. You know, did you do that? Well, no. Well, why not? Like, and then you get to have that difficult conversation with them right up front. Like, well, listen, like, this is what it takes. Like, if you don't do this, you're not going to be successful. Right. And so what are you going to do to catch up now? Like, you're behind week 1. Like, what are you going to do to catch up, get back on track? Great. Text me when you've done that. Right. And so I think that accountability, and then I think that practical hands on, like I emailed you, we've got some new agents in our Vaughan area. Right. And it's not my typical area that I'm in all the time. So I don't know all our agents in the Vaughan area. So I need some experienced agents that these new agents can shadow, right, to learn from, right? Because that's a big part of, at the end of week one, they've got to shadow an experienced, successful agent in doing an open house. And so that was the email you got because I reached out to Jessica to get somebody. She wasn't sure. And so I got to get, because I've got, I think, 3 new people at the Vaughan office. I got to get some open houses for them.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I mean, this particular weekend's not great because it's Thanksgiving, and I think
Yeah.
there's a
But
shortage of those.
even next weekend, right? Like, even if we have to push it a weekend, but get it lined up, right?
Okay. Yeah, and I think as you're talking through this, I think one of the things I'm remembering back to when I first got my real estate license, and I remember the first time I was writing an offer. I was writing it with a friend of mine that was a realtor, and I was going through it, and I was kind of stammering on things. I didn't have all the experience that I have now to be able to blast off an offer and get it done. And I remember he leans over my shoulder and he goes, "Didn't you get 90% on all those exams?" And I was like, because at the end of the day, book learning is book learning. If you're still, until you're good under the pressure of having to actually do these things in real time with a real live client that has their life savings wrapped up in this, I don't think you really understand what that pressure is. And I don't think it can be simulated.
No, yeah. No. Yeah. No, you've got to do it, and you've got to have that support and structure and mentorship in the beginning to show you how you've done it properly, right? To show you how to do
Yeah.
it properly. Yeah.
So when you got your real estate license, did you dive right in? Did you join a team? What
No.
was your process of getting started?
Well, listen, I was extremely fortunate. My dad was a real estate agent, and I also had a massive network. I used to throw parties at all the nightclubs in downtown Toronto. And when I started, I joke because when I started real estate, I had a garbage bag full of coasters and napkins with people's phone numbers and email addresses. So I took those, put them in
Your
the
stains on them.
spreadsheet, whether whether they remembered me or not.
I would love it if you told me that was still your CRM.
Yeah.
I had to get a new garbage bag.
No, I don't think that's a good way to scale.
That'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
So I do realize how fortunate I was to have that support of my dad. And I look at new agents because they don't have that, like in most places or when they're starting, right? And that's exactly what this launch program does for them, right? Is it gives them the in-class lessons, it gives them the hands-on, practical shadowing experienced agents, having your manager coach you once a week, having you step in and coach them. I think you have 3, 4 coaching calls with them throughout the 90 days. Like I'm really excited about it. I gave you feedback too. Like, Brady and Eliza, yeah, so they have been in real estate. I think like close to a decade, each of them.
They were 12 years, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So never been able to get up over 50, 60K, right? Like having to get second jobs outside or like that's tough, man. Like I just feel for them. So in 90 days, well, they're not even in 90 days. They're in week 2. They've got open houses lined up. They've been making their 5 calls a day, right, to their network. Both of them, each of them. Both of them got a solid lead. So they've got 2 leads. They came to us with a listing. So they've got a listing and 2 solid leads. So there's a good chance they keep going. They'll do 2 or 3 deals in their first 90 days,
Yeah.
right?
And that's the goal really, is to get that pipeline filled up.
Yeah.
The other goal, and this is where I think like a lot of new agents now are really at, should I call it a disadvantage? I don't really know if I should call it a disadvantage, but there are so many of these paid programs and lead generation. Like I get 4 or 5 lead generation companies calling me every single week, telling me how, just for a few $100, how I can double my business and all these things. I've done online lead generation, as I know you have. We've laughed about it, like, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we've dumped into, that silver bullet that's gonna grow our business.
Not to
And
mention the time.
the time but let's not even talk about that, but, it's a lost opportunity cost of chasing after these things. And when I say I think it's a bit of a disadvantage of being a brand new realtor coming into the business right now, is because I think that we're in this time where the real estate industry is really shifting. Like, when I got in, online lead generation was a really solid business plan. I actually built my business off of online lead gen.
Yeah.
I did eighteen deals my first year that were directly attributed to online leads. Um, but I also ruined my life in the
Yeah.
process. Like, I really smashed myself against the rocks. And the issue that I'm starting to see now is that actually the online lead space is becoming really tight. There's a lot of people fighting for the same business. And in the meantime, the consumer is getting really fed up with the tactics and the calls and that sort of strategy.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, when I built this thing out, and I wanted to connect with people like yourself, was to really put a spotlight on what I think a lot of these companies view as the enemy, which is the old tried and true ways of actually building your business,
Yeah.
doing the free things first.
Yeah. Mean
Um,
potatoes.
yeah, like is it scalable? Yep. Can you scale it in a really big hurry? Probably not, but you can certainly get to one or two deals a month by doing free activities. Um, and that's where I think, like, a lot of new agents that are coming in are really distracted. You can't keep them doing this stuff because they're being pulled in other directions. And every time they go on the internet, or every time somebody finds their name as a realtor, they call like, "Hey, I got this new magic potion that's going to solve all your problems. And it's going to be easy. You're going to love it. It's only going to cost you $5,000."
I think it's not just new agents, and you and I have succumbed to this. It's I think it's human nature is to try to find the easier, softer way,
Yeah.
right? And the reality is that there's no easy, softer way, right? Like the easy, softer way is doing the work, doing the skill development, doing the meat and potatoes, the daily prospecting, your sphere of influence, door knocking, open houses. Like, I can't, I have these conversations all the time. Just before this, I was with a new agent not a new agent. He's been around 5 years. You know, I was talking to him about coming to join Remax Hallmark. And, he hasn't done a deal in the last 2 years. And I was talking to him about this, like, you've got to develop the daily habits. That's your engine. You have to have an engine that drives consistent revenue, right? And that's your daily habits around your meat and potatoes, sphere of influence, past clients, open houses, door knocking, all free, all lowest hanging fruit, all best leverage of your time. So if you create those good habits, then look, you can, play around, throw a little money at this, throw a little money at that, try things out. But I think a lot of agents just try to go the easier, softer way and throw money at internet leads. And especially in a major city where hundreds of thousands of agents are all going after the same lead, and that lead is sold to all these different agents, and it's such an uphill battle. Your cost per lead's really expensive. The people are already pissed off because 10 other agents have called them, and a lot of the time they're a lot further out in their search, like 6 months to a year out. So
Yeah.
it's a tough one to just make your number one lead pillar right off the hop.
Yeah. The other thing too, kind of to back up your point, I'm not going to name any names here, but I was being coached by a company that was pretty well known for online presence and on building your online pipeline.
Mm,
And I had come into a bit of a rough time. It was just right when COVID hit. And I was really quite worried about my business. And what was interesting was when I got on like an emergency call with them. Like, I really need some help. I really need some direction and coaching. And their advice to me was, the way out of this for you is your sphere.
huh. Interesting.
You have to get on the phone, and you have to talk to people who already know, like, and trust you, and position yourself as somebody that can help them in whatever they're going through. And I thought that was like, that really resonated with me, that like the meat and potatoes of their business was helping people, solicit online leads.
And their
And
time.
this was the advice that I got.
Yeah.
And they weren't wrong. Like, I thought it was actually really, it must have been not very easy piece of advice to give coming from them. Yeah, like, yes, you can't do this other stuff because that all costs money and you're not in a position to be able to spend that. And if you want a more immediate return on your effort and time, it's
Yeah,
your
go to
sphere.
yeah, it's true, man. It's true. Yep.
So there's a lot less conversion. People are going to tell you, they're not going to lie to you and tell you they're going to do something when they're not. They're not going to ghost you out of an appointment, or they're less likely to. Like, you're going to get a much truer client coming from that than you would some stranger that you've just met online.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting, and it was something that actually really fueled my desire to be able to build something out that has that meat and potatoes. The something that is proven to work over and over again. I think you could debate whether or not it's scalable. I think there's a number of agents, and I'm trying to get actually Audrey Azad on my podcast as well, because this is somebody that has really built and scaled her business to a very high and successful level through personal connection and doing an amazing job.
Yeah, well, look, that's what I did. Like I built my business through my sphere of influence, and I actually at one point decided with a coach that I was working with, we were going to scale up. And so we added online leads. At the time it was Boomtown. Boomtown was the big
Mm,
kind of online lead platform. They did search engine optimization, Google ad campaigns, Facebook ad campaigns, all of that. I was spending like $10,000 a month. I had inside sales agents, I had sales reps, and I was less profitable than when I didn't have all of that and didn't have the internet leads. And it's really interesting because I've talked about this a number of times, but when at the time when you went to leave Boomtown or say you were going to leave, they put this emergency team together to help you. And so they put this emergency team together and we're trying to work on it. And I was doing everything like sending personal bomb videos, like, role playing the scripts, like everything. And then my coach said, like, we started to kind of develop this theory that it was really difficult in major cities. And so my coach said, well, why don't you ask them for 3 references in major cities? So I did. I said, look, I need to talk to some other people in major cities that are having success with this. They sent me one person, and that guy I had a conversation with had a small boutique brokerage, and he had stopped all the ad campaigns, search engine optimization, all of that. He was just using it as a CRM for his
okay.
team. And I was like, bingo, like I'm done.
Yeah, that's interesting that you said that, because I came to the same conclusion. There was a last one that I was using was a YouTube. They used YouTube to scrub the leads and bring them in. And he actually said, in Toronto, your numbers are in the toilet. Everywhere else, everybody's getting really great return on it. And he showed me the numbers, and we agreed to part ways.
Yeah.
And I think he's stopped actively trying to solicit in Toronto, like Toronto, Chicago, Montreal, Vancouver. Like, he's just like, I'm not even going to bother because the numbers are so terrible.
Yeah, yeah. I had like in the coaching organizations and coaching clients I was coaching, having lots of success in little towns where there was like less competition, but in a major city, just so much competition. Your cost per lead is so high. It's such an uphill battle to because they're just getting harassed by so many other agents. And
Yeah,
yeah.
and it probably puts a stain on our industry as well, having that many people making,
Yeah. I mean, I don't
what they view it as unsolicited phone calls, which, I mean, I got your number for a reason. You clicked something.
yeah.
So, yeah, I guess, like, that's the one thing that myth that I'd like to dispel, I guess, is, that this business costs money to get into. It's actually, I think, the by far the best business to get into, because the barrier to entry from a cash perspective is essentially zero. I mean, you get licensed and have a car.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cheap as far as starting a business goes,
compared to, say, starting
realistic.
a restaurant or
It's probably, what, like, 4 grand or something like that for all your fees and everything. Like, where can you start a business for 4 grand?
right. Yeah, and then to be able to go out and have all of these opportunities, and that's kind of what, I wanna put a little bit of a spotlight on, the leadership team within Remax Hallmark specifically, that they are really invested in making sure that the agents that are here are finding their way to success as quickly as possible. Versus if you were to go into, something that's more of a high volume brokerage, like where it's about number of warm bodies.
Yeah.
I think that this is something that's really truly special in the leadership team and the people that own the company and that drive it forward, but also in some of their new initiatives and the way that they're starting to tackle 2025, 2026 problems that agents are facing.
Yeah, I mean, like, I coach for a coaching organization, and I coach realtors all over North America. And I have honestly not seen anybody that has a program like this. They have, lots of them have these training programs like, like we used to, like the jump program, but to incorporate the practical hands-on, the mentorship, the coaching, all in one to really give people the best chance of success in their first 90 days and make money in their first 90 days. I haven't seen a program like this at any other brokerage.
So let's play a game actually, because this is something that we offer new agents that come into the brokerage. It's free. You work for a coaching company. What would the cost if you were like if we were to plug this into another coaching company? What would the cost for this be?
Well, it'd be thousands because, like, look, just to hire me as a coach is for 2 30-minute calls a month is 800 US a month, right?
$1,000.
Yeah, mastery is 1500, 4 calls, 4 30-minute calls a month. But, it doesn't include everything else, right? It does come with a lot. They have a back end website with lots of scripts and stuff like that, but it's not an interactive cloud-based training program that takes you from A to Z, with the accountability, with the coaching, with the practical hands-on. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like you could charge 10 grand for it. Pretty easy.
That's kind of what I was yeah, that's what I was thinking is it's a 90-day to success program, and if you did it, you're gonna be well on your way. I know that because
Yeah.
I molded it after what I would do if I was to start today as a brand new agent, knowing what I know.
Yeah.
And and then it's also had input from probably 10 other high-level leadership team members within this brokerage. It has a lot behind it. And that's the sort of that would be the question that I think I would ask a lot of people looking around at different brokerages and different coaching platforms and stuff is, y- what's the value that you're getting? I think as real estate agents, we get challenged on our value a lot. Like, oh, 5% commission. Seems like a lot. It's like, well, seems like a lot until you go ahead and sign with somebody that doesn't actually bring a lot of value to the table. You can get this job done for 2%, but you're going to get a 2% result. And that's I kind of think like when I thought about this program before our call, and I was like, I wonder what Micah would put on. Like, how would he assess that value having worked, you work with a coaching company that charges for this coaching and that would the one thing that I think probably has the greatest value in my mind, I'd love your opinion on this, has a graduation date.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
has
Cool. I mean,
it has a finish line.
yeah, that if you sign up for this program and you do it, this is the key. You have to take the action. Like, again, it's not a magic pill either, right? And you and I, when we do the onboarding with the agent starting this program, we're pretty we're very transparent with them. It's like, look, you got to take the action. If you don't, you're not going to get the results. But if you take the action and you do everything in that program, everything each week training session has, you will come out of that with hot leads and at least 1 or 2 deals. right? Like it's not a maybe. It's if you do it, you will be successful. And then not only that, but then you're set up with good solid habits, with all the core, kind of habits and skills that you need to then carry it on and have a successful year in your first year in real estate, right?
Yeah, for me, when I think about it, when I got my license, I remember I made a deal with my wife because I was a coach and traveling and away from home a lot.
Yeah.
And that wasn't very didn't make me very popular at home that I was, on the road for over 200 days a year. And, I was like, "Look, I'm gonna do this thing, I'm gonna do real estate, but you gotta give me 5 years, and it's not gonna look a whole lot different from my personal presence." Like, yes, I'll be sleeping at home at night. Like, I'm gonna be working late, I'm gonna be waking up early, I'm gonna be out doing showings, like, I'm gonna be gone a lot. And it took me almost exactly 5 years. I wish I had have actually said 3 years. Give me 3 years. Because I think that, you know, now knowing what I know, I think you can actually develop a really strong business in 2 to 3 years. I remember this quote, this line, is, "Do now what nobody else will, so later you can do what nobody else can."
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of agents get into this business with this idea of freedom. I don't have to punch a clock. I don't have to answer to anybody. I can make my own hours. You're going to make your own hours, all right. Your sleeping hours. So you'll get 6 of them. But if you did it full for a year, 2 years, 3 years, where does that leave you? Then you've purchased your freedom through your work that you've done.
Yeah. I mean, look, you're right. Everybody gets in this thinking, oh, freedom, blah, 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 blah. Like, you got to put in the work. You got to learn the systems, the scripts, the presentations. You got to put in that time. Look, as somebody that's coached athletes, and again, we say this all the time. It's like, do professional hockey players, practice more than they play? Yeah. Right? Yeah, do golfers practice more than they play? Like, a lot more. Like, the crazy thing about real estate, I say this all the time, is like, we're so lucky. You could literally practice like, half an hour to an hour a day, 5 days a week, and be in the top 5%. But for some reason,
I like that you use that word practice. I don't know if I've shared this with you before. I like to use analogies a lot because people
yeah,
can, they can draw similarities between things. And I always find it funny that realtors like to be they want to be treated like a professional, but they don't always behave like one. And so, like, I always think about your dentist. I like the dentist one the best. So, your dentist, he has a practice. It's called a practice. A doctor, it's a practice. A lawyer, it's a law practice because they actually practice the things that they do in real time. The more you do, the longer you do it, the better you get. You get somebody with experience and relevant, recent experience because they practiced it recently. I always think about the dentist because the dentist is like pokeroo. Like when you go to the dentist office, you spend most of your time, or at least I do, with the front desk receptionist because she's lovely and I like to chat with her, and the hygienist.
yeah,
And then the dentist rocks up at the end and he looks for problems and like he puts his expert eye on it. And usually I'm lucky I have good teeth and he goes, "Not making any money here, off you go." He's a critical element of that because he is the expert and he can look at it. And if there is a problem, he can deal with that problem. And he's the guy that deals with the problem. Everything else is systemized and automated. And he knows really quite quickly whether or not there's going to be an issue. He takes that little pricky thing and he sticks it in your teeth and he goes, "Off you go, you're good."
yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, how much did you just make doing that?
yeah,
But I always think like realtors, if they practiced, they could also be like a dentist. And I think a lot about my dentist. And imagine calling your dentist at 4:30 on a Saturday afternoon to get an appointment. You're just like the office is closed, and I think that we behave in ways like where we're very reactionary. We react all the time instead of
yeah,
being proactive and taking the leadership in our business. And that's really, to put it in a nutshell, what I think we're trying to do in this first 90 days here, Micah, is to set the behaviors for you to have a practice.
Yeah. Yeah. A professional practice. Yeah. And look, just to tie it back into my career, um, because a lot of agents, don't think it's possible, or they think, oh, customer service, you gotta be at, everyone's beck and call. You've got your weekends. But when my favorite time in real estate, and I feel like you run your business like this, I've had 10 people on my team. My most enjoyable was when I shrunk. It was me, two full-time assistants. One was licensed. I had one buyer's agent that handled all the buyers, and I just did listings, and I did not work evenings or weekends. And I had systems, processes. When I met my clients, I set boundaries, but I was the professional, and they wanted the results that I achieved. So they were willing to meet me when I was available, just like a lawyer or a doctor, right? And so that is possible in this business. And I believe you've done something similar now.
Yeah, it's similar. I mean, I spend a lot of time coaching and doing other things, so I end up actually selling real estate largely on the weekends now. Um,
But that's because you want
that's
to. That was your
that's
own
because I
doing.
want to. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's because I want to, and I do like I move people to my schedule, and I do things on my schedule and the clients. It's amazing how when you give people an option, you're like, these are the options that are available, and they take them. But that comes from confidence and experience. If I know that I have a quality product that people are going to gravitate to, then I'm going to be less reactionary. And the only way to do that is to set the foundation of having a practice. You have to go through a very strict set of activities that are going to build up your abilities, and with your abilities become confidence. With
Yeah.
confidence, then you start attracting people.
Yeah. I agree.
Cool. Well, just like that, we're at the end of the time. Mike, I appreciate you accommodating me and throwing your day upside down
No problem.
and to make time for this. I think it's really valuable to have somebody else that, that's in this, that's been working with me on this to help talk about it and promote it. If there are agents out there that are hearing this, that are feeling like they need a reset, they wish they could start back and do it over again, it's not too late. And if you're a brand new agent, you're just joining the brokerage, if you're listening to this and you're thinking about joining a brokerage that's got your back, this is a program that I believe 100% in. And we would encourage anybody to reach out, ask some questions, talk to Micah, get in contact with myself, and explore more about where you can find real value in a brokerage.
Yeah. And Chris, just to add to that, like we actually have some experienced agents on it that
Mm,
have been on it
yeah,
for a while, that are crushing it, right? That are really excelling. So,
yeah.
uh, yeah, it's a great program.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Micah. Appreciate you and your time.
Yeah,
We'll
man.
we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.